Welcome back to the news today. This is One on One. Avraham Burg is an Israeli author and politician. He was a member of the Israeli Parliament of the Labour Party and served as the Speaker of the Parliament, as well as serving as the chairman of the Jewish Agency for Israel. In 2012, Burg endorsed a boycott of Israeli settlement products, and a year later, he confirmed the existence of Israel's nuclear weapons during a speech at a conference aimed at denuclearizing the Middle East. Mr. Burg, thank you very much for coming. It's a great pleasure and honor to have you here in our channel.
Thanks.
Mr. Burg, are you worried, like I am worried, about what is happening to the Israeli society in the last few years?
Yes, what's new? I mean, I'm there for a long time with this kind of being troubled. The only difference nowadays is that whatever was so hidden and latent and buried so deep is all of a sudden out there, brutally expressed, and it might be brutally between Israel and Palestinians, between Israeli Jews and Israeli Palestinians, between secular and observant, between right and left. It's all out, and the situation is very brutal. But the only difference is that now it is being expressed, and yesterday it was dormant. That's the only difference. It's there.
What did we do wrong? Is it the education that we gave? Is it the society? Is it the lack of maybe respect to culture? What did we do wrong?
Maybe all of the above. Maybe it is two other things. The first is the age of the society. It looks as if it takes more than 7 decades of no existential reality, both for the 80% Jewish majority and the 20% of the non-Jewish minority, to get used to the idea that the responsibility is ours. I mean, none, neither the Israeli Palestinians nor the Israeli Jews, had total, absolute, comprehensive responsibility, sovereignty over their life previously. And all of a sudden we have to run the show. Nobody runs it for us, neither the Turks nor the British Mandate or whomever it is. So, and it's difficult. And we have to learn or to acquire the skills how to run a show. And as for today, the concept of democracy in Israel is the rule of the majority. But it's not democracy. Democracy is about being sensitive to minorities, because tomorrow the minority will be majority and the majority will be minority. So it's a conversation. This is totally lacked from the public equations. So one thing is the maturity of the society. The second has to do with the mentality of siege, or the ghetto mentality. And the Jewish majority lives in a ghetto mentality, actually lives in a ghetto. And it's very, very difficult to understand that outside the walls of the ghetto, there are different lives.
Yeah, when you're saying ghetto, to some people it will sound like we're talking again about the Holocaust.
Well, ghettos were there for hundreds of years, from Venice and on, and Rome and on, and so many other places, but it means you live within a confinement of your own, with hostility around you. Now, the Zionist idea that was supposed to solve the problem of the Jews or the Jewish problem in the midst of the anti-Semite hostile environment of Central and Western Europe moved to the Middle East. In the West, the Jewish issue is resolved. Jews are totally absolved, totally emancipated, absolutely equal to all the other citizens. But in the Middle East, all of a sudden, we preserve the pathological relations of the Jew and the non-Jew like we wanted to solve 100 and some years ago. And in that sense, Israel, as powerful and impressive as it is a conceptual failure.
So how come being a Zionist or Zionism became for some a curse, a bad word? You cannot say that you're Zionist and that someone won't look at you in a way that you are an evil person. You are not good.
Let me be an interpreter rather than a player, okay? Let me give you an observation, because I don't want to fall into this conversation. You're a Zionist, a post-Zionist, a pre-Zionist, early, late, sunset, sunrise Zionist. Forget about it, okay? But here it is. What was the whole concept of the Zionist movement? It was a scaffolding meant to help the Jewish people to reconstruct itself from an exilic structure into a sovereign one. So we made the process, and in 1948, We became a sovereign. State of Israel is a sovereignty. This is the time to remove the scaffolding and to enjoy the new structure. Unfortunately, somebody forgot to remove the scaffolding. And Zionism didn't stop to operate like an ocean liner, which takes it a couple of miles to stop. It's still with the energy of the 18th century and the 19th century and the 20th century, didn't yet stop. But if you ask me, it's over.
In which way?
Israel is now at a junction, which is a very fascinating junction. Will it become a modern, progressive, secular political entity in which the individuals can express themselves spiritually and religiously one way or another? Or will it become a religious entity? Will it be a religious entity at the Muslim model, or Turkey, or even New Egypt? Or will it be the religious model of America, which has a constitutional separation of church and state, but it is saturated with religiosity that you cannot evade the religious expression anywhere? And what kind of model will Israel adopt is a fascinating question, and the jury is out. But as for now, we must realize the structural transformation. Israel of 48 was a socialist or social democrat religious newborn, and today it's a capitalist religious one. It's a different entity.
Is the separation between Jewish and democratic can exist in this new Israel? Can you separate Jewish from democratic?
How long is the interview?
We have 2 more minutes. 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
A word of education. Today, many Israeli Jews perceive the national definition as a compilation of religion, territory, power, politics, and language. In the past, it was never all the 5 together. It was either this one or that one, or parts of this and part of that. And the totality of it means, you cannot withdraw from the territory because it's a religious issue. You cannot reduce the religious issue because it goes against the politics. You can't move. And unless you introduce some more space between these components, these ingredients, it's a no-go. It's a dead end. And therefore, the separation between church and state, between ethnical majority and equal democracy is needed. There is no such an animal discriminatory democracy. Doesn't exist.
It's amazing that you're saying that because because the idea of a democratic and a Jewish state is to keep the Jewish identity of Israel, to keep, which sometimes puts, like you said, the minority in a really uncomfortable position, in a position that you cannot be actually totally part.
Minority means you as a non-Jew, or me as a radical progressive minority? Which one?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Okay. You are right with a big but. We have issues of terminology. There is no problem that the communities living in the place will define the nature or the characteristics of the place. But it is wrong for the state as an instrument to be the imposing tool to make it work this way. Which means you individually be whatever you like, marry whomever you like, fall in love with whatever, express your religion and spirituality the way you want. And I'll do the same. If I'm the majority, so the majority of the people will create the atmosphere in the street. And if you have the majority, please respect me as a minority. That's a communal, democratic, pluralistic conversation. The minute I have the tool, and I will be a tiny minority, but the tool is mine, and I bash you whenever you just walk away from whatever I expect you to do, all of a sudden Judaism becomes an imposing element rather than a tool of dialogue. And this is wrong.
It's amazing. Avraham Burg, I wish we had more time. Thank you very much. We will invite you again. Thank you very much for coming to our studio. Tomorrow we'll be here at the same time, same place from the Jaffa Port. Have a great night.